So someone recently said to me that they thought that I would be happier in my future. This individual thought I'd be happier in my future if I follow more or less a traditional life path, as opposed to veering too far from the norms of this society in terms of my lifestyle, in terms of my job. You know, the implication was in all facets, I should stick more or less to societal norms in terms of how I live my life, etc., if I want to be happy. There are multiple problems with this statement. I should add that this individual who told me this referenced another individual who is not very happy that we both know, and implied or directly stated, in fact, that she thought that the reason this individual was unhappy was because they were not following societal norms. This is an individual who is not happy and who, to some extent, diverges from traditional societal norms. So she was implying a cause-effect there. This is obviously severely problematic because, and by the way, this is part one of what is wrong with her statement. This is severely problematic in that there are two other possible options that I can think of offhand, rather than his lack of adhering to societal norms directly being the cause of his unhappiness. Number two, another option could be the reverse. That is, as a result of the fact that he is unhappy, he does not follow societal norms. Now, I'm not saying that everyone doesn't follow societal norms because they're unhappy. That leads me to the other potential that I can think of that apparently this individual who suggested this to me did not consider, and that is that this individual could recognize, with good reason, that our society and world is incredibly messed up and sick in a variety of ways. And as a consequence, they are both A, somewhat unhappy, quote unquote, whatever unhappy really means, and that's something I'll get to later. But the fact that they realized that society was messed up, A, caused them to be unhappy, and B, caused them to not want to live in the messed up way that 99.9% of people live. They felt that they wanted to distance themselves from the insanity of this culture. So this is one major problem with the statement that this individual made to me, that, oh, you should follow a more traditional life path, you'll be happier. Here's X individual who doesn't follow a traditional life path, therefore he's unhappy. This is just a blatant, irrational assumption, basically, you know, due to enculturation, due to societal brainwashing, when it could be the reverse. The cause could be, the assumed cause could be the effect, and the assumed effect could be the cause, or you could have the recognition of societal problems as causing both A, the quote-unquote unhappiness, and B, the lack of adherence to certain societal norms. Now, the other fundamental problem with this statement is this pedestal upon which happiness is placed in our society. Now, the notion that certain emotions are somehow better than others, like, if you go into a deeply philosophical sense, all emotions are equal, I suppose you could say. But I'm not going to go into that realm. I'm simply going to say, I'm going to argue the reverse. That is, to be contented with everything, to be, or even just to be generally content, to be generally okay with things, quote unquote, given the state of our society, I find to be pretty weird, to be pretty crazy, to be honest. Like, if you're going to pejoratively refer to anyone as crazy, as detached from physical reality, as is one of the primary definitions of insanity, then you should first and foremost attach that label to individuals who are content in the face of 1/4 of children in the U.S. getting mutilated by their parents. I mean, not 1/4. 250,000 children every year getting mutilated by their parents, 1+ million Iraqis dead, another illegal war in Libya, bombing in Pakistan, unmanned drones in Pakistan, bombing in Yemen, the illegal occupation of Afghanistan in which thousands have been murdered, the gradual escalation of the police state, which now has regressed to such totalitarian levels in the United States, where they are molesting people at airports, and they've long been murdering black people with impunity and immunity. The cops have. They now have telescreens at Walmart, etc. If you look at the UK, we can see they arrested people for pre-crimes before the royal wedding in just typical, just horrific Orwellian fashion, arresting people for conspiracy to commit a public nuisance, for planning to maybe speak their mind at the public wedding. I mean, at the royal wedding. Arresting anthropology professors that are planning to engage in street theater, So they're arresting people for free speech, but not only that, they're arresting people for planning to speak freely. So you have the U.S. that's descending into a totalitarian police state. You have the U.K. that's descending into a totalitarian police state. Then you have Canada, which I thought was at least better than the U.S. and U.K., and generally seems to be. But you see in June of last year how the pigs, arrested 1,000 people around the G20, some of whom were not even protesting, threatened women with gang rape when they were in prison, snatched innocent people, molested people before they were entering a park, and searched their stuff, their backpacks, etc., and demanded people's IDs. So we see 3 of the quote-unquote beacons of freedom, U.S., U.K., and Canada, descending into complete Orwellian hell. At this rate, it won't be too long before they are literally indistinguishable from the society depicted in Orwell's 1984. And then you have environmental devastation, you have the atomization of society, the doctrine of progress. I mean, you have a million reasons to be enraged or hopeless, one of the two, both rational, at the state of the current world. And if you live in most of the countries in the world, you have a good reason to be enraged at the state of your society domestically. So the notion that the best emotion is happiness, is contentedness, is, let's simply just go with the flow, or let's appreciate life. I mean, sure, appreciate facets of life, absolutely. I mean, to keep you sane, if nothing else, but this notion that we should just be content with everything and turn a blind eye to mass poverty, there's another horror in our modern world. It simply has no merit, and those are the people that are the most detached from reality, in my view. And if you're so detached from reality that you think that happiness is the best emotion, then, what hope do we have really of slightly slowing down, let alone stopping, let alone reversing some of the horrific trends we see taking place in our world today? So that's really all I have to say today, YouTube. I could mutter some cliches now about how, I made a YouTube video. That's great. It probably awakened some people, and now we're going to have a free, happy society. And I hope you enjoyed my video, and you go home and tell your friends, and then 10 other people watch my video, and then 10 more other people, and then you comment and rate it, and then you go on Facebook and create a group, and maybe 5,000 people will join the Facebook group and that saying, I like Techjunkie92's YouTube videos, and then, you know, we'll be a freer society, and we'll be winning the info war, and we'll have peace and love, and we'll defeat the New World Order. So yeah, freedom from YouTube, freedom as a result of making YouTube videos. So there's my sarcasm. There's that, you know, is intended to convey a point to some degree. But anyway, yeah, I'm continuing to feel moderately despondent about the state of things, but also am able to maintain my rage as well. So, yeah, that's essentially it. I just wanted to refute the fact that this comment that this person made to me, that you're necessary. Let me just state something else. Don't turn off this video yet. So with regard to the fact that this allegation that individuals will be happier if they follow the status quo, I mean, that's just self-evidently false. You cannot, like, for instance, I could not be happy by any vast stretch of the imagination if I were to live the rest of my life following the status quo. Like, my chances for fulfillment in life are so much greater if I live a non-traditional life than if I succumb to societal norms and prostrate myself before the Leviathan, the sick culture. I mean, the notion, like, this person who said this to me implied that it's somehow a choice, that that everyone can just choose. Oh, I'm just gonna focus on the positive. You know, don't you love that statement? I'm just gonna focus on the positive. Well, I'm sorry, but when kids are getting murdered in Iraq, I cannot simply say, you know, focus on the positive. You know, maybe I'm unique in that I'm not just callous and I see someone getting gunned down by the police on a YouTube video, or I see someone getting molested at the airport, and I can't just say, oh, I'm just going to focus on the positive. You know, there's enough good in the world still. I'm just going to ignore the fact that our civil liberties are being systematically decimated. I'm just going to ignore the fact that people are getting murdered in illegal wars. You know, some people can't simply do that. It's not simply a choice. So if I were to simply, you know, not to pretend that I'm some great, you know, advocate for social justice, but if I just followed the traditional life path, I would not have any hope of being fulfilled as a person. And this is why I'm currently taking a few concrete personal steps to alter my life, to distance myself from the dominant culture, from civilization, from mass society, and all the insanity that entails. So I'm about to run out of time. That's what I wanted to say. This comment that this person made to me was rather absurd, in that it assumed that happiness is the ideal emotion. It assumed that it's simply a choice to be happy in the face of sadism. It assumed that it's just it's normal to, or it assumed that a false cause and effect, when it could have been the reverse, that people are necessarily made less happy by the fact that they don't follow societal norms. So, yeah, thanks for listening, I guess. That's what I always say. Alright, talk to you later.